Hey you guys. So today I want to talk about D23 and all the news and announcements that were announced over the weekend. So essentially what D23 is, it is a convention where Disney will talk about upcoming projects. So one of the days it's more so dedicated to parks, cruise lines. The next day it's more so animation or different like television shows, movie projects that are happening in the future. What I noticed was when it came to the animation portion, it was more so panels when it came to animators and voice actors, instead of, hey, here's, you know, a movie that we're planning to do, whether it's like if they wanted to do an Encanto 2 or something else, like here's our kind of timeline. We didn't get any of that. They did show sneak peeks when it comes to Loki, since that comes out in October, and they did show some sneak peeks when it comes to Wish, since that comes out in November. But otherwise, there wasn't anything else, which I found very surprising. I don't know if that has something to do with the strikes that are going on. I can about imagine it does. But I just want to talk about the parks news. I want to talk about all the things that are coming because I think a lot of them are very exciting. And so what I'm going to do is share the news, share my kind of knowledge, whether it's like history, what I've seen when going into the parks, and kind of my thoughts on it. What I think of this, projects that's coming up. So let's get into it. So how I plan to do this is I'm going to go through each area and I'll make sure to say what area I start with. First, I'm going to start with Animal Kingdom. Okay, so I think for this year, the biggest announcement that I think was like most like not inspiring, but just like, ooh, like exciting was this Dinoland USA essentially being reimagined. The thing is with Dinoland USA, the point of that area is it's like there's a lot of backstory to it, but essentially it is supposed to be like a carnival or fair. But, however, your main attraction there is Dinosaur. So when COVID happened, before I would say a lot of the rides in Dinoland USA closed down, you still had rides that were there. As that started to happen, areas started to, I think, be blocked off within that area. People were like, what's kind of going on? So people who I would say are interested in Disney, whether they go a lot, they're a Disney vlogger, people like me, that kind of like keep tabs on things. We were like, is this going to be rethemed, or are they going to do something, whether it's a connection with Dinosaur to something else, maybe it's more like adventure themed. And that's where we started thinking about Indiana Jones. Because the thing is, when it comes to Dinosaur, has the same ride track as Indiana Jones over at Disneyland in California. I think it's going to be a bittersweet situation because, again, if you have very fond memories, perhaps of Dinoland USA, of Dinosaur, I get where it's upsetting, like any ride that has been reimagined, if you look at Maelstrom, if you look at Great Movie Ride, like if you look at different things and you're like, oh, like I kind of, like you grow nostalgic. But here's what I can say. Dinosaur, a lot of people have not seen. Mind you, you do not need to see the movie to ride the ride. Like, I will tell you that 100%. Of course, there's a connection in there from the movie, but that's not like make or break for you to like, oh, I don't understand. Like that's not important. But that's the only thing there right now. And so I think redesigning it, like retheming it to other properties that you have that are very popular currently, is super important. Like, I like dinosaur because it's about dinosaurs. But if you want, I don't want to say more people to come, but if you kind of want to expand that like creative mind, like, oh, what else can we do? This just has so much potential. And especially if you're making it more of a tropics theme, I think that really goes well with the different areas that you have within Animal Kingdom, because you have Africa, you have Asia, you have Pandora, and then if you have the tropics, that I think can just, you can do a lot with that. And I think it just connects a lot more with the theme of Animal Kingdom in regards to like conservation efforts. And so I'm honestly very excited for this retheme. Again, it's bittersweet. It's going to be a bittersweet situation, but I want to see what they come up with personally, because I think these are like, especially in Kanto, it's a popular thing right now. Like, I'm excited for it. Also, within Animal Kingdom, there's going to be a new show in the Tree of Life. So right now, it's a show called It's Tough to Be a Bug. And for a lot of people, I think, so it's going to be rethemed to Zootopia, okay, within that theater. The current show, I think, makes a lot of people uncomfortable, like, or scared. So what I mean by that is, it's a 4D experience. So you'll feel things like under your seat, you'll feel things like stab you in the back, because so the back is bees, underneath is like some sort of bug. It incorporates with the show, as do the bee stings. But I think for some people, they're not the biggest fans of that. They're like, oh, I'm good. I don't I don't want to see that for whatever reason, you know. I think, again, we don't know what the center of this show is going to be. I personally think, again, it's a retheme. It's a popular thing. Zootopia's right now, like, Zootopia is not in the parks. Like, at least in Walt Disney World, it's not there. And so I think doing a retheme, having it themed to Zootopia, I'm assuming maybe it would be something in regards to like how things are connected and like nature, you know, kind of going with the Animal Kingdom theme. But it is kind of sad because I thought about it, what was it, last night, this morning, like over the weekend. I was like, you know, A Bug's Life is then not going to be anywhere. And it, to me, like, if you think about walking, if you've walked in the queue, you walk, you kind of go within the tree, you feel like you're kind of underground, so you feel like a bug. It's just, you know, it's that sort of stuff that, again, that's my mind thinking. And so it's that sort of thing where it's like, oh, it's sad, but I get it. Like, I get why they would reimagine it. I get why they would do it. I'm honestly very for it. Like, you know, try and do things, like, I wouldn't say switch it up, but if there's a way to incorporate something that maybe a more modern audience, like, identifies with, I get why they would change things. Now I'm going to move on to Magic Kingdom. So when it comes to Magic Kingdom, this is still the news that like gets me excited, because at first it was just kind of a concept, or I thought it was just like, ooh, let's just put an idea out there and see how it goes, because this was discussed last year. And now they're still talking about it, so it gives me hope. Essentially, within that concept art last year, what they talked about was so beyond Big Thunder, that concept art was like Coco and Encanto maybe inspiration, but then in the way back you could see like Maleficent's castle. They had hinted at a villain's land. I don't know if they plan to do both, like both of those concepts, or one over the other. Here is kind of my 2 cents on it. I would love to see both. I think both would really work. However, if I had to choose one, I personally would love the Villains Land. I know for years people have talked about like, oh, how fun would that be? Like a villains, whether it was a park, a land, something. And I think there's just so much potential there when it comes to like, hey, here's a thrill ride, or like, here's some fun snacks, or, like, here's a themed restaurant, or here's some characters that maybe you couldn't meet before. Because I personally feel like when it comes to meeting villains, you can meet some, like, do not get me wrong, but a lot of your villain experiences or the potential to meet a villain is going to be more so at like an Oogie Boogie Bash or Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween at Walt Disney World, and Oogie Boogie Bash is at Disneyland. And so it just kind of sucks if you're not there during those times, and you're like, oh, I missed out on like, seeing maybe Dr. Facilier, or I missed out on meeting Hades, or whomever else might be out and about. I think there's just a lot of potential when it comes to a Villains Land, and a lot of people I think are, I don't want to say more excited about that, but there's just like more like surprise and like, like not even shock, just I think discussion when it comes to that, then something else. And if there was then a way with that expansion to then have from New Fantasyland, you could somehow like see in the distance like the villains, oh, that would be iconic. Again, if you're like in the right spot, whatever. I don't know. Like, we still don't know, but it sounds like it's a planned thing. Like, it's going to be a very large expansion, kind of similar to Pandora and Galaxy's Edge. I think this is very exciting as well, because when I read about the Pirates of the Caribbean Tavern, like when that was announced, I think when it comes to that, I hope it's almost like a Oga's Cantina sort of situation where you can relax a little bit or have the potential to relax. I know at Oga's you only have like a 45-minute time limit, but have pirates in there, like have kind of that immersive experience. I think that would be fun. I think this just kind of gives it more life to that area, and hey, let's have some adventure, let's have some fun, let's do a Pirates of the Caribbean kind of tavern. I don't know, like I really liked that news. And then Country Bear Jamboree is getting a new kind of not even retheme, I'll say touch up. They're gonna do like new songs with it, like a new twist. I think it just again kind of gives it a little extra something. It's been a while since I've seen this show, and so I think this is just something new, something exciting, maybe gets more people to go see the show. And I don't know, like I know there's been talk in regards to Liver Lips, so his retheme is like here, so now he's Romeo McGrowl. Again, some people I think are very passionate about that. I'm just curious to see how the show goes, honestly. Like, it's just a little facelift, a little touch up. I think it's good. We did get some extra news when it comes to the Hatbox Ghost. He's finally going to come to Walt Disney World in November. And then Tiana's Bayou Adventure, there was a little sneak peek in regards to the Lewis animatronic. Again, this is so Tiana's Bayou Adventure is going to Disneyland and Disney World. We don't know yet when that's supposed to open. They said next year, I think that was last year. Like it was 2024. I believe that's still the case, but didn't really get like a timeline. But I'm really excited for this. Like I am living for like the Princess Tiana like little touches within Disney World. I know she's getting a ride. There's rumors about a potential restaurant. I'm hoping that's still the case. And then at Disneyland, Tiana's Place just recently opened. Or wait, no. Tiana's Palace. Oh my god, not place. Tiana's Palace and Disneyland recently just opened. And so that really excited. Like, I've seen pictures of it, so can't wait to experience that. Now if we go over to Epcot, Moana Journey of Water, or Journey of Water inspired by Moana, is opening up October 16th. Currently it's going through cast member previews, and so from what I have seen it is more so an immersive experience. So it's not like a ride or anything. You walk through and you're gonna like play around, you know, interact with water. That is the point of the attraction. I think it looks beautiful. I think it looks fantastic. I'm hoping a lot of people are engaged with it. I am honestly very curious when it comes to the water elements. I can see a lot of, I think, kids having fun with it. And hopefully there's a lot to kind of like walk around and explore. So then there's a lot to kind of be, I don't want to say entertained by, but you know, what can all we see? Like, what's all the details and everything? So I think this is a good addition for Epcot. And then within Epcot, there's going to then be a Moana meet and greet since they do have the Journey of Water. I think the biggest piece of news when it came to Epcot was that Test Track was going to get like a re-theme. So Test Track had, originally the theme was like you were a crash test dummy. And then they had a, I'd say refurb, where it looked or feels more like technologically advanced. I think it is time for something a little different. I like Test Track, like, do not get me wrong, but again, I don't like making this comparison, but let me just paint you a picture. If you look at the ride track, so Test Track, and there's a ride in Disneyland that's Cars themed. Same ride track. I look at videos of the Cars ride and I'm like, that looks really fun. Like, it's essentially kind of the same thing. It's just you have a different theme to it. I don't want the IP. Like, you don't need to do an IP, okay? You don't have to connect it to a Disney project or do any of that, because that's not the point of Epcot. The point of Epcot is, like, you have your different areas. I want this to still be its own thing, and so I'm very happy when it comes to this update. It's going to be more so World of Motion. Like, that's more so what the update and the re-theme is going to be. That makes me happy because that, I don't know, to me, I like I said, not everything has to be connected to something within Disney. So I feel like, you know, some people have talked about, oh, you could do do the Cars thing, or some people have talked about a Sugar Rush. I feel like if you did that, somehow, please, like, still make it about innovation, or, you know, like, still connect it to the Epcot theme. Because, I don't know, like, that's kind of the point of Epcot. And then within Epcot, we now have the Figment meet and greet, which literally, so announcement was made September 9th about the Figment meet and greet, was gonna then happen the next day. So that's happening, or is now happening. We are also getting the new spectacular, the nighttime spectacular at Epcot called Luminous. And there's also going to be an Asha meet and greet. So with Wish coming out, Asha's going to be the new character. She's going to be at Epcot. She's also going to be at Disneyland and Disneyland Paris. So I'm really excited to see, like, where that's going to be and all these new updates. I'm especially excited about that nighttime spectacular because, look, I loved Harmonious. I know the barges were an eyesore. Like, I know that. Okay? I was there, like, I've been there before the barges. And yeah, it's not nice to see, like, you know, the barges kind of take away from the view that you can see all around. And so I'm hoping with this new nighttime spectacular, I don't know if it's going to be more of like a World of Color sort of situation, or what the plan is. But I'm hoping, like, I'm really excited to see like what has kind of come out of this show. Oh, and within the month of September, there's going to be Soarin' Over California, and that starts September 22nd. That is the last Epcot update. I felt like I was missing one. But then if we move on to more so Hollywood Studios, there wasn't a lot there in regards to, hey, here's what's coming, here's what's new, because they have a lot of, I would say, the newer stuff. However, Star Tours is going to be updated, and that's anywhere there's a Star Tours. It's not just Hollywood Studios. So that's going to be at Hollywood Studios, Disneyland, I believe Disneyland Paris. I could potentially be wrong about that, but anywhere there's a Star Tours, it's going to have an update where it's going to have Ahsoka in there, because since we've had the Ahsoka show and she's kind of been within, I think, a lot of different other projects, they're like, hey, let's incorporate her within Star Tours, and so I'm really excited to see that. And then we did get some international news. So we got news in regards to the other parks. So with Hong Kong Disneyland, they have been working on their, I would say, Frozen expansion. They showed some sneak peeks in regards to like the ride, what the land looks like you see here. I think this looks stunning. Like, I at times feel like they've done so much with Frozen, but it kind of makes sense. Like, Frozen has made them so much money, so why not kind of capitalize on that? But I think too, if you somehow not play into it, but if you just design it well and like have attractions that are fit to it, I mean, you really can't go wrong. The one ride that they kind of showed off here was Oaken's Sleigh Ride. So that was more, I don't want to say like a Big Thunder, but it felt like a mix between Big Thunder and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, where you have your carts and it's like a little roller coaster. And so I think it's just fun. Like, it looks fun, it looks engaging, it looks like, hey, here's an expansion for people to be really interested in. And I think there's another attraction within here too, but I'm not too sure. They only showed like so much. And then when it comes to Shanghai Disneyland, they essentially showed off a little bit of their Zootopia expansion, or their Zootopia land that they have. I'm excited to see how that kind of plays out. Because I know when it was talked about last year with the Animal Kingdom, like, is there going to be a retheme with Zootopia? Since we're getting like some Zootopia stuff, I think that's fantastic. I have seen pictures again of like the Shanghai, kind of the stuff that they have had that have come out. I think it looks great. Like, I'm really curious everything else that's going to be incorporated with it. Then at Tokyo Disneyland, they're working on their Fantasy Springs. So within Fantasy Springs, there's essentially Rapunzel's Forest, Neverland, and then you have a Frozen kind of section as well. I have not heard yet in regards to attractions for those areas. I think, don't quote me on it, I think I've heard that when it comes to the Neverland section, there might be like not a flight, but like, I think kind of Peter Pan's flight, but I think it's gonna be different from what I've kind of heard. And I know a lot of people are hoping when it comes to like the Rapunzel section that there's a like boat ride, and then you can see like the lanterns, because yeah, I think that would incorporate a lot with the film. I think honestly too, that would be very stunning. And then when it comes to the Disney Cruise Line news, they debuted their next ship, which is Disney Adventure. And then they showed a little bit, I think, of the new area that Disney announced last year, when it comes to like the Lighthouse Point and the Lookout Cay. I have not been on a Disney Cruise Line yet, so I can't really give too much on this. But I think having another area, or I've heard that the Disney Cruise Lines are very popular. So I think having kind of more areas to kind of go to, what do all the ships offer? I think that's always fun. It's always exciting. And those were all the announcements that were done within D23. I will also post this article in case you want to read a little bit more. Some of them go into depth in regards to a time that some of these things may come out. I made sure to try and include that, but if I didn't, it's also in the article that I'll post as well. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on everything. I think the announcements are very good. I just am very curious when some of that stuff will come out. Like, it's gonna take time, and it'll just be interesting. It'll be interesting to see, as maybe years go on, because the expansions are gonna take time. Coming up with maybe new rides and new attractions, that's gonna take time. So I'm hoping we kind of hear more on some of that little bit of information. We definitely will. But I found a lot of this stuff very entertaining, very excited about it, and I hope you all as well. So I will talk to y'all later. Bye.